Right out, New Zealand show is back for another week, and I've got one of my regulars back. Cam Bray, welcome back, mate.
Yeah, g'day. It's hard to call someone a regular and they say welcome back. Welcome back. You've sort of shafted me the last few weeks.
You've been in lockdown. There's been non-communication. It's just been complete shutdown.
Ratings would have taken a hiding with me off the ears.
How's it all been, mate? It's trying times, COVID. They have different. We've got it tough here, but I think you guys definitely had it tougher for a few weeks.
Yeah, no, we're quite lucky. We've come out of it the other side now. A slight loosening of the lockdown laws, but you can't go to the mall or anything like you would, Paul, and sort of go shopping all afternoon. But you can definitely get the essentials, and you can go and order yourself a coffee and put your mask on and go and pick it up. So life isn't horrific, but it's still not normal by any stretch.
We're actually in a similar boat to you guys just at the minute. I think non-essential shops aren't open, but yeah, there is still flexibility. But if you're not essential, you're meant to be staying home and all the rest. I've been vaccinated, and I think that's one of the key things we need everyone to do is get out there, get vaccinated on both sides of the country to try and stem the flow of it.
Well, it's clearly when you watch the news, it's the way of the world, and it's how the world's going to get over it. Whether you don't like it or you think it's going to give you a bit of self-reception or whatever, it's clearly, when you're looking at some of the European countries now, they're saying you can't go to a bloody nightclub, which, for you, Paul, would be devastating if you couldn't go to a nightclub without your vaccination passport.
Very true. I watched the Grand Prix last night in the Dutch Grand Prix. They must be all vaccinated because I tell you, they were off tap. And then you watch the Americans, the gridiron and the golf. They got crowds back, so clearly we've got to get vaccinated. It's a bit hard. We don't have the numbers, so that makes it a little bit trickier as well. But it is key. We could talk about COVID and vaccines till the cows come home, mate, but we'd be like a lot of these other people, got no real idea other than telling people to get vaccinated. Hey?
It hasn't stopped anyone during this COVID. No, everyone's an expert.
Absolutely. Today's show, I've got Mark Hughes coming up next. With some, I suppose, shipping announcements, which is very, very key with the lockdown, and I'll discuss that in a minute with you. But then Johnny Stuyvesant at the end of it from Arden Lodge. He's essentially talking from Arden Lodge. We do touch on Southern Bred, Southern Red as well. But going forward, the way this is looking, Campbell's comments is going to be probably trying to get the word out there as best we can for a lot of these breeders on both sides of the ditch. And effectively for you guys on both sides, like North and South Island as well. Like I would imagine, you guys are allowed to get out and about, but the guys in the North Island aren't.
Yeah, no, if you live in Auckland City or the Auckland region, you're in a spot of bother, which majority of the staff that work for New Zealand Bloodstock are currently under level 4, so they can't do bugger all, really. So, and it looks like it could be that way for a wee while yet. So, yeah, it's tough going for them, but look, we're back racing down here or anywhere outside or south of Auckland. We're back racing, which is great. We've had a couple of meetings now. Invercargill, I think, at Cambridge have had a go, and Edington have had a couple of goes now. So, yeah, it's a wee bit of normality, although no owners can go. It's only the, like what you guys have over there, the trainers and drivers and limited stable staff. Yeah.
Yep, we're restricted to one per stable, I think, or one per horse. Don't feel too sorry for all of them. James Jennings, yesterday, he might have had a fair spread for breakfast. I tell you what, if you follow him on Facebook, won't feel too sorry for young Jamesy, that's for sure. I think Jan might have cooked him up a very, very nice breakfast by the looks. He was very spoilt, the boy.
Are you having a dig at him, or are you just is this a more counselling session for you? You're feeling a bit down on it? You want to talk about it? What's going on?
I was fortunate enough to have one meal at the Jennings's, and I think it was takeaway. Oh, I can't wait to be over there next time and get that breakfast spread. If whoever cooked it is watching, I tell you, there's no not being cheeky. It was a fair spread, mate.
Yeah, well, no, obviously New Zealand yesterday here was Father's Day, so
same here for us. Yeah.
Same here for you. So what did you get? A bit of old toast or something?
That's it, and that's all I deserve too. And she'll tell you that. So that's probably true. But it is going to be different especially from an NZB point of view. Like you're normally out inspecting. You actually started inspecting before you got called back to do your lockdown. So you'll be a little bit behind the ball there on the South Island. The North Island will be a long way behind the ball now.
Yeah, well, and to be fair, James has sort of taken over the North, and they'll sort of do that as they can because not only do I look after the standard breeds throughout New Zealand, I do help the thoroughbred fellas a bit. So I'll do all the standard breed inspections, and whip around and do the South Island thoroughbred inspections, which there's not a great deal of them, but there's enough to add another week to the job. So yeah, it's caused a few delays, but hopefully this afternoon, I think we're getting an announcement today whether we can go to 2. So I think all going well, I'm going to fly to Invercargill on Wednesday and go down and see the guys south of the border. So that'll be good, and we can start to sort of get things going again, because the creep round will be cut week next, and like maybe Christmas, and we're back to the sales again. Won't take long.
No, definitely won't take long at all. It's it is ever changing, and I keep saying this: if people want a hand, give me a yell. There's no problems there. We'll reach out. We'll try and promote it as best we can in these trying circumstances, and try and do different things. Johnny's already mentioned it, doing a couple of different things and look at it a different way. I was looking forward to being there in November. I'm still hopeful, but reality says there's no chance, I'd say.
Well, I didn't think we had much of a chance before we got it, to be honest, and now we've got it. I'd say you're odds on for you're no hope, mate. No. To be honest.
But the way it's looking here in Victoria, I'll be lucky if I can get across the Murray River. We just...
That's the big problem we got. We've got staff based in Australia, but you know what I mean. One's locked in metropolitan Melbourne, the other one lives in Coogee Beach, so like he's locked up there too. So it's tough going, really.
Yeah, definitely is tough going. What else is on the go for NZB and Canberra?
Pretty much, mate. It's inspections. We've got to get them done ASAP, because we start on our pedigrees, myself and Granny. So as soon as I get one lot done, we'll be straight into the books and get anything really. Yeah.
Is there anything people can do to help you guys?
Just say I ring up, say, can I come and have a look at your horse? Which we understand it's tough going, but we've sort of lost coming up 3 weeks now. So that was probably the 3 weeks of it being comfortable. Now it's not comfortable anymore, because obviously we ran into the situation. I think all sales companies ran into that situation last year, where we generally try and get our catalogues ready for early December. With a few COVID issues, it might have been mid-December. Then they get stuck in the mailing house, or stuck in the bloody Australia Post yard for a fortnight, and then people are ringing up post New Year's saying, "Where's the catalogue?" We had all intents and purposes to be nice and early. And now they've gone and jammed this on us.
And then I can actually attest, last year I had quite a few catalogues. They all arrived, I think, about 3 days prior to the sale, that were sent well and truly early. I think I got a Kiwi teddy bear at one stage because they put the wrong sticker on the wrong box. So it is very, very trying. Over here we've got the same problem. The Stallion Guide, I do stuff for Harness Breeders Victoria, and the Stallion Guide was ready to go out, and I think even made its way to the Australian Post. No one's received them yet. If they have, they're only just receiving them, and that was 3 weeks ago. It's just ridiculous what happens. So I think people have got to be patient, but got to be able to get the word out there and go from there.
Bearing that in mind, we obviously put all our sale catalogues go onto a app called Equine Line. So I don't know if anyone's heard of it, but if you go into the App Store and download Equine Line, as soon as the catalogue becomes available online, it's basically posted on there. So you don't miss out. You can jump on Equine Line, and it's just the physical catalogue. You just flick the pages like you would a normal book, and go from there.
Equine Line in the App Store.
Equine Line. I'll share the link or whatever it is, and we'll get it going.
Good man. That's good. I'll actually download it in a minute and go from there.
Yeah, it works on your iPad. It's got to be iPad, not iPhone, iPad. It's an iPad application, so iPhone doesn't work any good, but definitely on your iPads are very handy for sales and that.
It's one of the few things I don't have, and they're not easy to get, the iPads, but that's okay. It's all good. There's a bit of a shortage of all those sort of things over here at the minute, but that's fine. Cam, thank you very much. Short chat. As I said, Mark Hughes straight after you and I finish right now, but Johnny Stiven had a good chat with John. Highs and lows of the industry. Wasn't that long ago, so South Coast Arden was winning on Jules Day, and he had a bit of a bad trot. The interview was actually meant to go out last week with Stacey White, but unfortunately on the day that we were recording it, things went a bit pear-shaped for Johnny, but that's the highs and lows of the breeding game, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's a high risk, high reward business, isn't it, unfortunately? Yep.
Absolutely. Canberra, thank you very much, mate.
Good on you, mate.
Rightio, on the New Zealand show now, live from Australia. Mark Hughes, how's it going, mate?
G'day, Paul. How are you, mate? Beautiful sunny day in Melbourne. So, breeding season is underway in New Zealand and kicks off for us in Australia tomorrow. And yeah, it's spring has sprung.
Spring has definitely sprung. I'm going to throw a different different hat on for 2 seconds. Nutrien, this will go out tonight about 6 o'clock New Zealand time. If anyone's watching it afterwards and wants to watch the Nutrien Spring Summer Sale online, please get involved. Woodlands were major sponsors last year of the Nutrien sale, and I'm not going to say yes or no whether they are or they aren't next year. I better be careful. I might get Mark Barton might like me, but Mark Hughes might not like me. But they're great organisations online. Tune into Campbell's comments if you want to see how it works. Very different to the Gavel House, which a lot of the Kiwis are used to, but it's a different platform. But Campbell's comments YouTube, Campbell's comments Facebook, and you'll be able to watch it live and go from there. But it definitely comes on tonight. It starts 6 o'clock, which is 8 o'clock Kiwi time, Mark. So we've got to look after the Kiwis and go from there. I'm sure James Jennings is sitting back in lockdown at the minute. He loves the fact that I put a rival sales company he's had on for 5 minutes, but he'll get over it, I'm sure.
I'm sure James will get out of it. Get over it, sorry. So yeah, but no, looking forward to chatting to you, mate, this afternoon or tonight, whatever time it is we're doing this.
Yeah, well, we record at lunchtime, but it goes out about, as I said, about 6 o'clock New Zealand time. It'll get out there. Lots going on, mate. We might elephant in the room. We'll start off with down by the seaside. Because there's been a lot of talk around about him. I was with Stacey last week and they hadn't been released from quarantine, so Stace was like everyone, a little bit none the wiser and the likes, but you've got a bit of an update on how he's going and where he's at?
Yeah, look, he, along with the rest of the US bred shuttle stallions, came out of quarantine bright and early last Wednesday, Betters, Lou, What the Hill and Seaside, and they've all successfully arrived there. Seaside is in the house. He's well at this stage. His post-operative recovery was a little bit like a roller coaster early doors, but we expected that. This isn't one of these things, like a cold where you get over it very quickly. So, as I say, he arrived at the farm last Wednesday. His progression so far, the first half a dozen days, has been really good. It's all hands to the wheel regarding his health and that sort of thing. He will let us know when he's ready to collect and be part of the stallion shipment roster going forward, but suffice to say he's certainly on the right track at the moment. And we will monitor him, but like everything, as we all know with these animals, and he will tell us when he's ready to breed.
Yep, and it's just a matter of probably a bit of time. And I would imagine if, like the interview with Cam Bray earlier, it looked like the sun was belting in on the South Island, so you'd imagine the North Island's even a bit warmer, and that when the weather warms up, they tend to pick up a lot quicker, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And you could see, look, for those of us who follow us on Facebook, there was a video last week of all the boys arriving that the farm put together in New Zealand. And you could see he was highly alert and having a good look around. He was looking back over his paddock that he will return to in the not too distant future. He can see Sweet Lou, and they were eyeing each other off, having a bit of a chat. So yeah, look, the weather gets warmer. I get the smell in the air, and spring is a brand new, time for everybody, and it's a time where people start to get energised, and the horses feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. He's had a great start to his siren career in America, and even just today in North America, he's gone okay in the sire stakes over there as well.
Yeah, look, and as we've discussed a number of times, there was always chat back in April and May that everyone was high on him, and we all know that sometimes the old chat around 2-year-old horses doesn't really equate, and sometimes there's some that go good early and you don't see them after that. But he's carried on through June, July, and August up there now into September. Northfield Park today won both divisions of the 2-year-old. For fillies, size stake, $300,000 fillies, and the Colts and Geldings. He's got a couple of very, very, very good horses. Sea Silk is a star. She paced a world record today for that size track, 151 and change. And Gulf Shores, who is in fact trained by Brian Brown, who actually in fact trained down by the seaside as well, remains undefeated as well. And he jogged around today in that $300,000 final. And all of a sudden, he's about 300,000 or 400,000 ahead on the 2-year-old size list ahead of the next sire. So quite a phenomenal, freshman season for him. And for our other shuttle stallion out of that part of the world, What the Hill, who left the 2-year-old Colts and Geldings $300,000 size stake winner today at Northfield Park as well.
and then second in the other heat as well. So I mean, he's doing a great job. They're only just starting up on the trotters now, doing a few talks with Duncan McPherson and Pat Driscoll going forward, and the trotters are really going to start hotting up in North America from now on, aren't they?
Yeah, they start to roll now. A lot of size stake finals competed on the weekend. Pennsylvania, Northfield Park today. Indiana, you've got New York next weekend coming up at Yonkers. So, a lot of those good 2 and 3 year olds are up and about. And then obviously ploughing down into some good racing in Canada on the weekend at Woodbine and heading into, into Breeders' Crown territory, I guess. And, the Little Brown Jugs on the horizon in September over there as well. So lots of seriously good racing coming up there.
Love to say we'd be over there. We know the answer. We won't be, but that's okay. Just quickly, before we go too far, Seaside's book in Australia is full. In New Zealand, where is it at with New Zealand?
Oh, look, Seaside's full here, has been since about the middle of last month. New Zealand is creeping towards 100 mares. I suggest to New Zealand breeders that they start to seriously think about maximising their opportunities with him. He is, the Kiwis haven't really embraced a Son of Sun Beach somewhere over the journey, and even him himself, Max 3, they obviously did. But I sense now they've got to start to make a choice about going down this line because, it's going to have a very, very effective, it will be definitively strong over there going forward, and they just need to be part of it.
Great save. You're in all sorts of trouble just there for a minute. just for it, and I put this up. I mean, Greg Gangle, who's a good mate of mine from Canada just recently, but he put these stats up, and this was going back. It did have a date on it. I can't actually see it on there. But Seaside was actually at the top of the 2-year-old money list. I think it was about a month ago, we'll say anyway.
Yep.
Treacherous, Captain Treacherous, and then Huntsville. So the Sunbeach Somewheres just stand the test of time on the size ranks anywhere. Here in Australia, people are really, really keen on the Treacherouses that have been racing, but the Seasides and the Huntsvilles that sold last year at the sales. The great part about that, from a point of view of Woodlands, the next 2 sires afterwards, Sweet Lou and American Ideal as well. So 3 of the top 5 in money list for 2-year-olds at that stage is incredible, considering you only have a band of about 7 stallions as it is, and 3 of those are in the top, and the Superstar's not even in that list, so which is incredible. What the hell? We'll just quickly stay on he won't get a full book in Australia because the way it works in Australia, there's just not the broodmare bands to fill a book, but his book would be going okay over here, I'd imagine, off the back of the way the yearling sales went. Yeah,
look, his book's incrementally building nicely. We all know that the reality with the trotter down under is that there are probably 1,400 or 1,500 mares and any amount of stay-in options for trotting breeders to breed to. So for a stay-in to make a solid book and get away, it's increasingly harder. But suffice to say, stay-in prices yearling sale prices both in Australia and New Zealand in his first crop were significant. And roll that into what's happening in North America with him this year, we're confident that he's the way forward down here, from the Muscle Hill point of view,
Yeah, with the NZB hat on, even the Nutrient hat on, types, they just sold, they off breeding, but as well as that, they're just cracking types, and people were really, really keen on them. I was pretty impressed with all of the yearlings that I saw. There's Sweet Lou over here. He is just doing a phenomenal job. Last week he had a first starter in Menangle. It was just oozed class. I can't actually think of her name. It started with S, but she was a terrific first up winner. And then My Charlie's Angel, for Charlene Gusman. I did a story on her a couple of weeks ago as well. I seen him the other day actually. He's come through that run pretty good. He just keeps lifting the bar, Sweet Lou, doesn't he?
Yeah, look, and it's another one I've warned everybody about that we've been high on for a long time. We believe Sweet Lou's our next American Ideal. Just consistent at all levels. Gets 2-year-old, 3-year-old and 4-year-old winners. He's got some very significantly big crops to come. Plethora of early 2-year-old winners here in Australia and some seriously good 2-year-olds as well. You mentioned he's Charlie's Angels. Brian Portelli's got a very smart horse in New South Wales called Small Tees. It's actually funny. It's one of those jurisdiction years when Lou's had about 6 or 7 individual 2-year-old winners in New South Wales. So, via the Eltron boys as well, they're having a bit of luck with them. And look, just building a brand and building a book as we expected. North America, son Hullabaloo won the Pennsylvania Size Stakes $250,000 3-year-old final on Saturday. He's won divisions in Kentucky today. His 2-year-old colts are going well. He's in the top 4 or 5 stallions up there, as you mentioned before. So Lou's well and truly on the way, and there's no doubt about that. And he'll serve another very big book in Australia this season.
Yep, absolutely. He's not booked out in Australia?
No, he's not booked out. There'll be opportunity to breed to him. He's around the 130-odd mark at the moment, so be confident in saying as time rolls on, he'll get to that number or thereabouts, around the 150, the new magical number.
Better's Delight is still there. We forget about Betters. We just sort of think he'll be there. Go and watch the video of him arriving and giving Tony Grierson a little bit of buggery as he put him out into the paddock, but it's great to see him back again. I think it was Stacey said last week, I think he'd been on something like 31 flights.
Yeah, he's the man. His frequent flyer book is quite crazy. And, when he returns in January, that'll be flight number 32. And, we put out a tweet last month that he'd made $385 million in progeny earnings. That's probably ticked towards 390 as time goes on. And, it'd be suffice to say sometime in the new year that he will have, probably ploughed into over 400 million in earnings, which is, by anyone's imagination, is quite phenomenal. And look, he looked super coming off the truck the other day. For a horse in the twilight of his years, if I was that fit, mate, in the twilight of my career, I'd be very, very happy. And he settled in a treat, mate. His semen's been phenomenal. We've bred with him. We've bred with Lou already in New Zealand. And their semen early doors is just sensational, the pair of them.
Foals on the ground, you've got quite a few, but Speeding Spur, they've already hit the ground, which is terrific. We must make sure that the Kiwis are aware that he's actually gone. I'll actually throw Cap's logo up to Lower Long Farms to stand this season, but he's still available for semen, definitely in New Zealand and the likes. But great to have some of his progeny hitting the ground.
Yeah, the first foals have been born in New Zealand in the last week, so just great to have Del Boy to have some foals on the ground. He arrived here successfully in July, and he's raring and ready to go at Lower Long, Northern Rivers, for export to New Zealand. Obviously, some internal stuff as well within Australia. And just on Speeding Spur, I know that there's always been the chat fest around how competitive our colonial horses would be overseas.
I hate that word.
And there's that word, that colonial or local bred or whatever you want to call them. The reality is that for us and for others that have had the courage and the fortitude and the guts to send their horses to North America and get results, I speak of Lazarus, I speak of, way back when, Auckland Reactor, we've sent Speeding Spur. A horse like our Sky Major went up and raced there and has come back to Standard Stud in New Zealand. He was a great horse as well. So it's easy to say your horses, would have done a job over there, but the talk around that is that your talk is cheap, okay? Because until you send those horses to the States and compete at the greatest level in the world, then, it's about actions, not words. And that's where Del Boy came to pass. He went there, he won in 52 in a Group 1, he contested races in Woodbine and North America. So he actually walked the walk up there. So he went there, did the job, came back. So we know he's a world-class athlete, and we know as a colonial bred he has become that. So I encourage people to look at his book. He made 1.3 million, mate. Won Group 1s in Australia, New Zealand and North America. And for a colonial bred, pacer or trotter, there's very few stallions that have done that, mate, in the last 25 years. I mentioned a couple of the others that had the foresight and courage to go. So we had the courage to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that you're right. When people say colonial, as I said, I hate that word. I mean, he was a star trotter of his era. How many Great Southern Stars did he contest?
Yep.
So he was a beautiful horse, and he done it all. And as I said, he's at Lower Long Farms. And for a lot of the New Zealanders watching this, the reason he's at Lower Long Farms is because effectively over here we have a different bonus scheme to what the Kiwis have. I don't know if you have a bonus scheme at all for your breeding, But if he wins one race, so if in 2023, 24, whenever it is, if his progeny win one race, we get a $12,000 breeders bonus from that. So it's a no-brainer for him to come to Australia and stand in Australia. If he was in New Zealand, our bonuses would be, I think, 9,000, either 8 or 9,000, but it's effectively an extra $3,000 for the Australian. So he's very, very enticing for a lot of the Australian breeders. But still, don't forget he's over here in Australia, you Kiwi guys.
He's also can be that there should be an enticement around him for Kiwis as well. So American Ideal, Lather Up, and Speeding Spur, because they physically stand in Victoria, the progeny for them in New Zealand do automatically become Vic bred.
Yep.
So there's another reason to sell one to Australia or put one through a yearling sale just to breed to those three boys. There's an absolute incentive tied to them.
Yep, absolutely. We'll go to Lather Up. We'll leave the other bloke to last because he's got a few little promotional things going on himself that we want to make sure people are aware of. But he's come back. I hear that he's come back a little bit bigger. There will be some footage coming very, very shortly. Cherry Blossoms, I'm sure they must be out by now. She hasn't sent me a message, so they can't be far off. But Kath just wants to wait till we can get the right backdrop and all the rest. But there will be some steam parades coming from Lower Long Farms very shortly that will definitely highlight Speeding Spur. But Lather Up is a horse that a lot of the Kiwis should be sitting up and noticing.
Yeah, look, so Sudsy, as we affectionately know him because of his name, he returned down in early April, and he's a year older, a year wiser, a year bigger. Just one of the most compact, neat stallions I've seen in a long time. Clean set of legs, highly fertile, ticked any amount of boxes for us. And these are the seasons when you should be seriously considering breeding to a horse like him. He stands in Ohio, where they now have the sire stake program that is seriously, probably the richest in the USA at the moment, as reflected today, $300,000 finals. He will be in that system where his progeny race for super money like Seaside and What the Hill. So as a second season sire, it's the time to be on board because our understanding is he's got some significantly good mares. And we know in 12 or 18 months how that will equate yearling sale-wise up there and how it will possibly play out when they go to the racetrack. He was a very good 2-year-old Lather Up as well. And look, 46 horse, a lot to like about him. People, the industry was a bit dumbstruck when we bought Sweet Lou down based on his pedigree. We're going to have the last laugh there. I sense Lather Up travels in the same direction for us as well.
With Lather Up, you got Better's Delight as his grandfather, but you also got In the Pocket. Don't have to say any more, do we? We just like In the Pocket's on the maternal side, so he's got it. He's got it all. Stacey said the other day, brings up some options for some very interesting crosses as well with him if you're brave enough to go down that line breeding, which is what he does appeal to, or he's a terrific outcross for a lot of the other stallions going around.
Yeah. And one of the key things to him, and I've read about this, mentioned this before, is he was gun barrel straight as a racehorse at the end of miles in 46. Wasn't any of this running down the track or running up the track. He was gun barrel straight. And a superb action and a seriously quick horse. And as you say, Better's Delight and In the Pocket, two of the three most dominant, stallions in this part of the world in the last 25 years.
The other great thing about him, won over 1,800. I think that's he's won past that mile, and I think from memory, I was saying to Stacey last week, I think he set a world record mark for his first mile on that occasion as well, and was still able to get home over that 1,800 metres. If he wasn't far off his world record mark, which is tied with two other horses, Always Be Mickey, and I forgot the other one, but he's equal with it, but I'm pretty sure he done it twice, and it was about 2 to 3 weeks apart, which shows how strong the horse was. Yeah,
he was strong, just absolute high cruising speed, and that was an 1,800 metre race at the Meadowlands. That replay's on our website under his stallion page. Go and have a good look at it. And look, another one of these horses that we are generally very, very excited about, and being attached to the Vic bred scenario as well is going to help him no end. And look, if you've got a Better Than Cheddar mare, or a son of Better's Delight broodmare, then it's going to be a 3x3 to Bettor's delight. So there's a lot going for this horse, and as I say, the Vic Bred incentive just ramps it up, particularly for Victorian breeders and those New Zealand breeders that want to export the semen as well.
Absolutely. Last but not least is American Ideal, AI, as he's affectionately known. He's got his books closed here in Australia, has been for a little while. How the New Zealanders going?
Yeah, look, his book shut here, and it's funny. His first semen order for the season looks like going to New Zealand later this week. So look, the Kiwis are up and about a little bit early on him. The Roberts family, Charlie Roberts' son-in-law and daughter Mary Kenny, are significantly probably putting their best 3 mares to him in their little group. You saw Magnificent Storm win the other day at Gloucester Park, where he just owned Minstrel on Friday. He's a scary, crazy good horse. The Kiwis are probably going to, they will support him, but the Aussies are obviously rallying behind him as they do year in, year out. Just keeps on getting it done, mate. And he's arrived back in sensational order as well this year. For a 20-year-old, and not too dissimilar to Bettor's Delight, if I was tracking, at 20 years old like that at the end of my staying career, I'd be quite a happy lad.
Absolutely. His Queensland Carnival was just phenomenal this year. Like, it was touted as one of the big carnivals. He was just brilliant in it, wasn't he?
Yeah, look, he had Derby winners, Copy that was on the board up there, but just scattered throughout those race programs. He was pretty much soaring a double most weeks at that carnival. He had a great run up there. He's continued his great run in Perth. Had 3 2-year-old winners in Australia within 24 hours last Wednesday and Thursday. Won at Bendigo and a double at Penrith. He just keeps on keeping on. He's just been a great horse for a long time.
Absolutely. Now, there is a couple of promotions going on at the minute. Harness Breeders Victoria. I actually have to be a bit careful. This actually closed because it closed last Friday. But there is a significant, raffle prize on offer for anyone that wants to get involved with Harness Breeders Victoria, and that is a free service fee to American Ideal, which I must say well done to Woodland Stud for getting behind as well, but also for Harness Breeders Victoria and a couple of other sponsors there, Barristock and Kentucky Equine Research, for getting behind him and putting his sponsorship up. $12,500 prize. So I think well done to the team at Woodlands. I'm not going to single out any one person, but I think it's a significant prize to be afforded here to the breeders here in Victoria going forward.
Yeah, look, we were happy to be involved, and I know that things didn't work out for all the hard work and love that went into getting those seminars off the ground. Would have been quite easy for us and for Lower Long to walk away and say, well, listen, let's just park the idea. But for us, it was about supporting and seeing these things through. We're not about taking stuff away. We're about giving. We're about, making sure that, we're part of that, series of where we're happy to be part of it and keep things rolling. The old phrase, the show must go on, came up there, and we're delighted to be involved in that. It's all about giving back. People have supported us no end, and we're happy to be part of that, and we're grateful to Harness Breeders Vic to carry on, and hopefully someone gets a little bit of luck there next Sunday when it's drawn. Sunday
night it'll be 7 o'clock. We'll go live with Nick Hooper and Brett Coffey. I encourage everyone to watch, join in, ask some pedigree questions and the likes. It'll be a lot of fun, but somewhere in the middle of all that, someone's going to win a free service fee to American Ideal simply for being a member of the Harness Breeders Victoria. I'd love to tell you to fill out the forms and get involved. Unfortunately, it closed on Friday the 6th, so it's actually closed now. The others day, and I'm sure Cam Kirkwood will be sitting there watching this saying, Paulie, don't forget us. But Pastor Stephen is another one there that's on offer. So Lower Long Farms, as you said, not just collecting with American Ideal, they're actually putting Pastor Stephen up as well. So I think well done to everyone. They're a great little series. They want to do them a little bit more like what the Kiwis do going forward. That was the idea of them, to get people there. We will build on that once we get out of this bloody COVID stage, Marky.
Yeah, and look, I know the goalposts move there on a weekly basis, and hopefully this time last year, when the season's upon us again, that those sort of activities where people can get together and chew the fat and talk about breeding, that those things will take place next year, you know.
Absolutely. Rightio. Important stuff now. The timetable and how it's all going to work, shuttling these stallions going backwards and forwards to, for you guys, for both ways. From New Zealand to Australia and from Australia to New Zealand. It's going to be a logistic nightmare, I would imagine, but we need people to be aware of it. This is locked in stone, but it is flexible. It can move from any time depending on flights being available.
Yeah. So look, we start collection tomorrow for American Ideal, Lather Up, Speeding Spur, and Cath for other stallions as well, within Australia and for export at this stage, tentatively. So at this stage, collects will be in Australia Sunday, Tuesday and Thursday. The cut-off times there are mentioned. And for our New Zealand stallions shipping within New Zealand, that's already underway. Information is there. But for shipment to Australia, it will be similar sort of timing to the Australian timing, but delivery for the following day. The Australian-New Zealand leg at this stage looks fairly concrete into Melbourne. We just ask, as per last year, that everybody is flexible around flights, drivers and delivery times. We're still working through some of those at the moment. Like last year, things were fluid, but they did change. Got to remember that we've got Victoria in lockdown, New South Wales in lockdown, and some parts of New Zealand in lockdown. So the toing and froing is very different to last year. So we just please, and everybody bought in last year to what we did. Similar sort of circumstances are going to be at play this year. It does look like that there are a few more flights out of Melbourne than there were last year. But give us, our couriers, all the farms, some little bit of understanding, because the navigation around this year is going to have to be, everyone's going to have to be fairly flexible in what we do.
Yeah, and those three states, Auckland, or not Auckland's a state. Well, it is a state, isn't it? North Island's a state. I don't know what it is. I'll get in trouble.
It's just an island. It's all one country. So yeah, what is it? The 7th and 8th states of Australia, isn't it? The north and south over there.
Here we go. They're going to start. They're going to start coming through right now. We'll know if they're still listening to us anyway.
That's true. They'll probably be.
But you got Auckland in a hard lockdown. We've got Melbourne in and Victoria in a hard lockdown. Hopefully for the country of Victoria, we're going to be out of the hard lockdown very shortly, but maybe not. And New South Wales is just an absolute mess. We won't even. I don't know who's in lockdown, who's not. This time last year, we weren't in as many hard lockdowns. We were under COVID restrictions, but this is a bit more serious this year. Hopefully, we get out of it very quickly, but right at the minute, it is ugly. So people need to be aware and they need to be flexible.
Yeah, look, they do. It's the age-old saying. It's a moving feast as to what it was last year. Obviously, the Kiwi and the New Zealand timing and days are aligning. So just the 3-day-a-week collection. And delivery and that from there. Some areas will be notifying about that in the next few days. So, but yeah, rest assured we will find a way. We just ask, as per last year, everybody bought in. We just ask everybody be flexible and understand that there is a way, and we are trying to navigate that at the moment.
That timetable is up on the Woodlands Facebook page. I would imagine it's possibly somewhere on the website. Can I say that, Marky, or not?
Yeah, it's on our Facebook page. We will resend that to our database in the next 24 hours. And so everybody has an early doors copy of that. We can go from there. It's
pretty self-explanatory, but there is a hell of a lot in it. I'm not going to try and read it because it's it's all over the shop. I'd probably get one word wrong, but timing is the number one thing that people need to be aware of, when to get your orders in by. And
Yep.
and I think it said 11 a.m. there. One of them I'll get. It doesn't matter. I'll be safe. It won't matter. No one's going to prove me wrong. Don't get it in at 5 to 11. Be aware that if you know what you're doing at 8 o'clock, get it in by 8 o'clock so people can get time to get it. There will be the odd one that'll be late. There's no worries there. So just try and give the studs and everyone a bit of time to get everything sitting down and working properly.
Yeah, look, we understand that there'll be times where the timing doesn't match up because of different time zones. But and one thing we did do early last year, which was very helpful, we were sending spare doses at the start of the season to navigate and alleviate some of those people that the scanning didn't line up for, or they were 2 hours late or whatever. So that's the same sort of things will be at play this year for us and others, I gather. So yeah, but those times are critical because in terms of the timing, everybody understands that, we've got to work within the parameters that are offered to us by airlines and by freight companies and all that sort of thing, freight forwarders, couriers, etc. So yeah, if everyone's on the ball, that'd be great.
Yep, it would definitely make things a lot easier. Mark, I'm going to throw to an interview with Johnny Stiven, now a great supporter of Woodland Stud, does a terrific job down there in the south. Got a good story. It's not all positive. He had a little bit of bad news going to it prior. Stacey White, Cameron Grant, make sure you can get in touch with either of those guys for your service fees in New Zealand. Ring yourself or Belinda over here in Australia. And just, as I said, just give people the space and the time going forward. Kath McIntosh at Lower Long Farms. We'll give a sing out to Cam Kirkwood as well. I think he likes his little ego being pumped up from time to time. I've got to look after the boys, so he's looking after Kath's duties there in New Zealand as well, mate. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time. It's great to hear that Seaside's on the right track. Hopefully everything else is tracking forward. We have a great season this season. Plenty of winners. Won't be the last time you and I talk, that's for sure.
No, it'll be hopefully the first, but people don't want to see really, blokes like me, mate. They're all after, people want to hear from others, mate. So it's good.
Yep, absolutely. Good. And we'll be doing a stand parade from Kath McIntosh's. How we do it, that we'll work that part out. It could be a semi-virtual, semi-live. Keep an eye on Campbell's comments. Yep. Don't forget tonight going live 8 o'clock New Zealand time, 6 o'clock Australian time, or actually 5:30. So bring that forward half an hour. 7:30 for the Nutrien Spring Sale. I've got lots going on. The guys from Southern Bread, Southern Red, have got a lot of stuff planned. So please, hopefully you enjoy it. Feedback is great. And Mark Hughes from Woodland Stud, thank you very much for joining me, mate.
Good on you, mate. Appreciate your time, Paul. Thank you.
Right now on the New Zealand show, catching up with John Stiven. Firstly, Johnny, thank you very much for joining me.
That's fine. Thanks for having me, Paul.
Modern technology won't weary us, that's for sure. We got our head around it and got everything up and going after a while.
We're getting better each time we do this, so it's working well.
This is part of the New Zealand show. You were scheduled, we were going to go up last week. I only put up the one video last week because unfortunately you had an issue came up, but I'm just trying to keep highlighting people in New Zealand. I suppose some people get heard, some people don't, and just trying to keep, get the messaging out there. And with COVID and the way it's going, it's probably more and more important now to keep trying to get the messaging out there, isn't it?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's not for the faint-hearted, the game we play, and when I spoke to you the other morning, we'd fed up and everything was fine and honky-dory, and then within 2 hours we had a mare that looked like she was in a bit of trouble, and it turned out she was in a lot of trouble, and basically I couldn't talk to you that whole day because we had 2 vets working on her to get the dead foal out of inside her, which was a horrendous day as a horse breeder, but big shout out to the vets. They did a tremendous job and saved the mare, and we're doing the things each day we've got to do now post that traumatic time for her, and it looks like, touch wood, we're out of the woods.
The breeding game is a hard game, isn't it? We take for granted sometimes. We go to yearling sales, see horses sell for good money. We forget about the massive lows that you can have in this industry.
Well, that's right. It's you never know what's going to creep up on you when you got horses from one day to the next. And I think over 50 years of breeding, as Judy said, we've learnt to be resilient and endure lots of things that get fired our way. But it's good when you get the highs, and but you've just got to learn to ride the lows.
Yeah, you've had a good year. Capped off by South Coast Arden, winning on the Jules Day. I suppose would nearly be the highlight for the year. But you've had a very, very good year as far as your horses and the way they've gone.
Yeah, pretty good. it was actually his mother that we had the traumatic week with, so that was even harder to swallow as it was unfolding. But anyway, we still have her, and the rest of the season's been very good. We've had quite a number of wins, seconds, and thirds with horses we've bred, and it's looking pretty good. All the stats on that Judy's put on our new website, and if anyone wants to have a wee look at that, they're more than welcome to see what's there and what we've been doing.
You both embraced the technology gung-ho, basically. Like you're good on Facebook, you update your website and all the rest. It's very important, and it's important to market Arden Lodge.
Yeah, well, especially the way the world is at the moment, because I know you're chomping at the bit to get to New Zealand, and it'd be great to have your call here and at the SBSR group, but that's not looking very likely. And so we've got to look at these other forms of how we communicate with people and let them know what products we've got and what's happening. So it's talking to Cam the other day at NZB. Sounds like he's got plans in place that it's looking very unlikely there'll be much presence from your side of the world come February, but let's hope we can. But if we don't, we're going to be ready to do what we can to market the sale. Yeah,
it's this different variants made it a little bit trickier, especially with timelines, because this time last year there was no hope of us getting to New Zealand. I was able to make the weanling sale. I know that was after your yearling sales, but yeah, there's that possibility that they might have been able to get on top of it. Who knows? We'll have to just wait and see. Just for the record, I think everyone's got to get vaccinated to curb it a little bit, and I've been doubly vaccinated, so I think that's an important part of getting back to being a bit of normality for all us horsemen. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I just had my second shot this morning, and Judy's just had hers this afternoon, so we're ready to go on that front. So just hope like it that everyone else gets it before things get any worse and things start to get better. So that's just part of what we've got to learn to live with, I think, for the future.
Yep, definitely. But as you said, he's been speaking to me. We've got some contingency plans going. I'll definitely be ramping up the coverage, get as many of the horses in New Zealand that people want to anyway, get promoted across here to the Australian buyers and potential buyers, so that they can still play in that market. And who knows, even on sales day and leading up to sales day, we might be able to do some different things. Cam and I dipped our toe in the water a little bit last year. This year I think we're going to try and do it a little bit bigger and better than what we actually did. So sort of exciting times. Johnny, for a lot of the people, the Australians that are watching at Arden Lodge, how many mares would you roughly have on your books?
We're breeding 15 this year, and we usually get a dozen foals, give or take a bit, so it's being taken a bit at the moment. But I put my Hambo hat on that my parents actually went to the Hambo many years ago, and this is a bit of a relic of the past, this hat. But I wore it because I thought, well, I'll chuck something at you that Captain Corey's just won the Hambo, and he's trotting bred horse with pacing blood on his dam sword.
Yep.
And we spoke about it at the Stallion Night down here in Southland the other night. Really breeding, there's lots of highs and lows, but those people are getting a heck of a high out of that horse. And I read an article the other day that the people that own him now, he went to see him as a yearling and just wanted him, and they ended up paying big money for him, way more than they thought they would have to, because he was such a good looking horse, and now he's ended up a champion. Everyone's just got to breed some horses to keep this game going. It's all about getting them bred, and there's no rules. If anyone rings you up for advice or want to chat about what you send your mare to, I just say, well, just send your mare to what you're comfortable with, because who knows what you're going to produce. Yeah, you're right. Captain Corey's a great story. He's actually named after Corey Callahan. I couldn't work out where the name came from, but he actually drove his father. So they named the horse after the guy that drove his father. So you must feel a little bit for him, because I don't think he's been able to get on him yet. But he sits there and watches him in the grandstands. A horse that's named after him. I'm tipping he's a little bit proud, but he'd like to get behind him because he's a brilliant horse.
And that horse, when you read a little bit more of the backstories about him too, and the horse's father, he is what breeding is, because they said his father was a really nice trotter and lacked speed around the turns, but just that next generation of going back to a trotter and all the rest, they've got that pacing speed, which is what he shows, especially out of the mobile, and the trotter coming back in, he's able to now corner that little bit better, and that's why they reckon he'd get so much better. That alone, then the fact that the Swedes have actually brought him to stand at stud in Sweden, like, this purest of trotting ranks and all the rest, and he's got Cam Feller 2 generations back, I think, or 3 generations back. It's just terrific.
It's quite amazing. So I thought you'd be up with the play there, but my point was really just for the breeders that are listening to this, they just need to breed, and hopefully that'll help our industry go forward with a few more people breeding a few more foals for the next wee while.
There is, and New Zealand, I'm sponsored by Woodlands and the likes, Better's a Light. He's thrown more than his share of handy trotters over here, that's for sure. He's side a Redwood winner over here as a trotter as well. So there is no, he's a champion sire and he can do it at both sides. There's no rhyme and reason when you're thinking about your breed, and you can try anything sometimes.
Yeah.
I know, talking to Dave Miles when Emerald Stride it was, when he rang Emilio, I think it was one of the first lot of 2-year-olds he'd got for Emilio. And he said, I think I've got a nice horse for you. The problem is it's a trotter. And when he told him which one it was out of, he nearly cried. It was like, no. But they've had a hell of a ride and a hell of a lot of fun with her, that's for sure. Yeah, so it makes a big difference. Johnny, we keep up a little bit from time to time and trying to show I suppose, the differences in your property and where you guys live there down in the south of the South Island of New Zealand. This is a picture, and I'm pretty sure it was the 2nd of August you sent it to me, with the hills capped with snow and snow all over the fields. It must be incredibly hard when you get up in the morning and you see all that snow out there in the paddocks.
Oh, that was just a wee skiff we had come through, just enough to cover the green grass, and we always like to say it's a bit of fertiliser from above, so get a wee bit of help in that regard. So no, it's just part of where we are and what happens.
Then the next photo you sent me is a beautiful photo. Your yearlings laying down in a paddock of green grass. You sent that to me 2 days ago, Monday I think you might have sent that one to me. Just vast contrast in the space of a month.
No, that's really highlighting just how much the grass is really kicked into gear at the moment, and things are really getting green across the whole district. So it's a good time of the year to see that.
It's very, very different countryside. I don't know if that's your gate. Is that your gate to your property you sent me a photo of today?
The one of the wattles?
Yeah.
No, that's a cemetery. We graze our mares up around the cemetery. There's about 13 or 14 acres up there where they winter, and we drive through those gates each morning to take them their morning snack. They're
beautiful gates. It's my daughter saw that. My daughter saw that picture this morning, and she was like, "Wow!" So yeah, it's a good entrance to the dead centre of town. It's a really, really nice place. Arden Lodge this year going to NZB's yearling sales. How big will your draft be?
We've got 9 this year. We've got 2 fillies and 7 colts. So we got things the right way round when they were born this year, which was a help. And that's what we've got to offer this time.
Yeah, which is a good draft number.
Yeah, good number. Yeah. Got a few new stallions. We've got one of the few lucky ones to have a Lazarus colt, and he looks super, and lots of people come and say, "Where's my Lazarus colt to have a look at?" So because there's been no one here for the last while, people are going to be surprised when they see him next time after being in that green paddock.
Yep, we'll get some footage of him. You're right, lucky, and it's great that he's standing back in New Zealand this year. Hopefully he'll get a great reception.
Oh yeah, well yeah, it's just been bad luck for the horse and everyone involved, and hopefully that'll change. So they've done the right thing and changed things for the horse, so hopefully it works for him. So we're going to send him something this year, and yeah, but there's a lot of exciting things happening down by the seasides, coming out of the woodwork and going gangbusters in the States. And we're lucky enough to have a colt out of Winter Rose to offer at the next sale, and he looks like he's going to be reasonably sought after. He's a real good-looking, upstanding seaside, so we'll see what happens in February with him too.
He's done a huge job. I do wear the Woodlands hat. I proudly get paid by him. There's not a worry there in the world, but you can't knock the job that he's doing in North America at the minute. He's just setting it well and truly alight. He's out doing treacherous just at the minute.
Yes, yeah. No, very exciting to see those sons of Some Beach Somewhere coming through doing the job. I've right from the get-go, I've been one of the biggest fans of Beach. I think that's fairly well known, and he's just was the super horse. And right at the start, I thought this is the type of horse that years ago we had to wait for his sons to get here before we could access that blood, and nowadays we've got them straight off the track from America. So very, very lucky that as breeders that we can access these horses like we do, and yeah, we've got stock happening that's really, really cool.
It's incredible. Greg Gangle, a Canadian that's just taken over the Wagga Harness Racing Club over here, he put a tweet out just the other day, and it was Seaside from Treacherous and then Huntsville, 1, 2, 3, all sons of Some Beach Somewhere in North America right at the minute, which is pretty impressive stats to say the least. So put my Woodlands hat back on for a second, and they then also had Sweet Lou and then American Ideal. They had 3 in the top 5 size of 2-year-olds so far this year in North America already. So they're pretty impressive stats actually. So yeah, but the top 3 all by Some Beach Somewhere sort of nearly leads that's a direction we should be heading.
Oh yeah, and we've got a Sweet Lou colt there as well for next year, and a Mickey colt, and a couple of captains, and a Fear the Dragon. And to me, they're all the horses that are rocking at the top of that 2-year-old list, and the ones that have got older are doing the same. It's well, just once again, we're just lucky to have access to those horses. Like Sweet Lou didn't have a great sale last year, but boy, he can leave some winners, and he's leaving them in the States. 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, Grand Circuit horses, colts, fillies, you name it. He's doing a grand job.
He left My Charlie's Angel was super impressive here 2 weeks ago, winning at Cobram. I think he went 54, sitting in the def, won by 25, basically unextended. Charlie might have put her arm in the air, but that's about as much as she asked him to do it. And then yesterday at Menangle, I forget who it was, but there was a first starter that was backed. They jumped out of the rafters to back him, and he won as well. I think it's Snow Time might have been the name, but anyway, someone will be able to look. This is actually going to go out on Monday, this show, so it was actually the Tuesday meeting, but he was very, very impressive. Just had to wait for the gap. As soon as the gap came, he put him away very quickly. So people are really starting to sit up, and I know one Mark Hughes that I deal a lot with, he loves Lou. He really thinks he's got a huge chance of changing the breeding demographic here in Australia, and yeah, I sound like I'm written and spoken by Woodlands, but yeah, I think sometimes you just got to say the obvious. So yeah, that's the way it is. Your other hat that you do wear when you're not wearing your Hambo hat is the SBSR hat. Do they actually have hats?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I actually looked for that one. I couldn't find it, to be fair, but. I'll talk to Mark Smith and get another one if I'm going to be on your show again. You better tell Mark to send one. Send one to you. Yeah. That's a good idea. yeah. We it's green for the green grass, and yeah, you'll recognise it when it arrives. Then we've got about north of 80 yearlings as a group for the sales come February. Our plans are in place already. We've pretty much got close to settling out the tour itinerary. We know the date, which is the 7th, which is the week before, 7th and 8th of February. We usually have that slot the week before the sales. Everyone's in sale mode, and it works quite well for us that the buyers have seen the North ones and the Canterbury ones, and then come down and see ours right just before the sales. It seems to be a good time. And yeah, we're sort of all set there. It's takes a bit of doing. We have a fair few phone calls between us from time to time, and various different jobs we do, and a few meetings through the year. So we're supposed to have a meeting next week, but we're probably going to have to put that off the way level 3 is. But we'll just do that when we can, and hopefully we've got everything under control.
Just for the Australian, breeding industry, I suppose. How does your tour work over there? Like I know how it works, but if you could just explain, sort of, I suppose, in a short way, how the tour actually works.
We fly in buyers from both Auckland and Christchurch areas. Those that have showed interest to come. Most people have been. Always like to get one or two new ones that haven't been before. And they fly in about, it's a wee bit different this year because they're coming at lunchtime instead of later in the afternoon. It was just to do with getting direct flights from Auckland to Invercargill, and also the flights were a tad cheaper. So we're always trying to do things on a shoestring budget of not very much. So we've managed to get that set up, and we do all the southern Invercargill out to Winton and Tautau, and those ones on the first day, and then the next day leave Invercargill out to Macca Lodge at Riversdale, across to us and up to Dunedin, and see some at Wingatui that gather up there at the racecourse, and later in the afternoon fly the respective flights back to home. So it, in the past we've tried to let trainers get their horses worked in the morning, but on the first day, but this year they might have to get up a wee bit earlier, or get their staff to do a bit that day perhaps. But it's that time of year where everyone that's looking to buy wants to do their homework, and we have some southern hospitality to put on while the people are here, and show them some nice horses which will hopefully turn to be champions for everyone's sake.
So basically there's about 8 studs that they visit. Do they see every yearling, or do you select yearlings that you showcase, or how does that work?
No, pretty much every yearling that is in the draft is available. People, we gather up at various places, so there might be, well, like here there's 9, and this year there's no one else coming, but at Debbie and Mark Smith's, for instance, at Shard Farm, they prepare for other people, so they've got 3 or 4 lots of different other ones, and a couple others go there, and then like at John and Katrina Price's, they've got someone else coming to their place this year, and just, yeah, we try to gather up where we can, where we need to, so that there's the time restraints now. Because we used to do it with 40 odd, but now we've got 80 odd yearlings, so it's just growing so much.
Makes it hard. We did a few over here last year. We did a few live yearling parades, and I'll be looking to do those again for Nutrien, and they've got the 2 sales going forward for some of the studs. It's just a good way of being able to get people there. I would imagine being able to have a handshake with someone that says, "Oh, we're keen on your horse," as well, would make it a little bit more, I suppose, positive for you guys selling one. If they come to, if they get on the plane and they come down and they say, "Oh, we're really keen," at least you know they are keen. If they've travelled 8 hours to get there to watch these horses and then go home, in a whirlwind trip, it must give you a little bit more confidence as compared to the way I do them with the live interactions. You're not exactly sure who's watching and who's going until you get to the sale ring.
You'd never really know until the hammer goes down, but yeah, it is good. There's vibes both ways, and it's good for both sides of the equation there. But a lot of these guys play the cards pretty close to the chest, because they're travelling with a lot of the opposition that are going to be bidding against them, and but it is interesting to for everyone to see what's happening. And it's really good to have them on site, on farm, looking at the stock in their home environment. A bit different than watching they must get to a point at the sales where there's 300-400 horses and they all start to look a bit the same perhaps, but when they get to see them where they're in their own environment at home and they're probably a bit more relaxed, the horses themselves and what have you, it's definitely a good thing.
Yep, definitely indeed.
The tour, there's no doubt about it.
Johnny, thank you very much for joining me. More or less, one, getting to know John Stiven, but also just raising the bar and making sure people are aware that there will be plenty going on this time. Oh, not this time, in about 6 months' time, I suppose it'll be roughly. Might be a little bit less. Actually, it's probably less than that. 5 months' time, we'll be definitely ramping it up. We might try and catch hold of some of the buyers actually as they go to getting ready and just see what they look for. Won't necessarily find out which lot numbers they're after, but yeah, try and find out what they're after as well, and just keep promoting the sale that NZB do so well, mate. Appreciate your time. Really enjoy it. Beautiful day. You better get back out there and enjoy the rest of that nice day in case the snow comes down, mate.
Yeah, no, we're not too worried about the snow at the minute, but yeah, we need to go and feed them again, and it's good to be on the show, and you're getting lots and lots more people knowing what you're doing with what you're doing here, which is great. And I think because there's so many different ways you attack it, that keeps listeners interested to hear all these other people that have got a bit of a yarn and a bit of a story to tell. So thank you very much.
No, well and truly appreciate it, Johnny Stiven. Thank you very much for joining me on the New Zealand show, mate.
Okay, cheers.